In a world full of podcasts, one podcast has one episode to give you 1 week of movie news. This is The Weekly Reel. Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Reel, episode 4 for June 20th. First up in movie news, James Gunn gave a wide-ranging interview with Rolling Stone that was published on Monday, covering a variety of topics from his emerging reign of the DC cinematic universe to the soaring hype of Superman, and some updates around what's going on with his version of Batman. As all eyes are on him to see if he can get a new version of Superman to fly after so many crash landings of his predecessors, Gunn mentioned how Guardians of the Galaxy and then his hiring, firing, rehiring at Marvel really prepared him and softened him up. Quote, "But the very good nature of him, i.e. Superman, this really strong belief in what's right, sometimes perhaps to a fault, is what makes Superman who he is. And that is not Star-Lord or Rocket. That's not a guy who's angry or covering up his emotions. He's pretty pure. And so getting to the place where I could write that character was a journey. In the past, I would have done it through making fun of the character, and I don't think that's what I do here. I'm less afraid now than what I used to be. I allow myself just to be more purely creative more than I used to. And I thought I was being purely creative before, but a lot of times it was just anger releasing itself in another way. I'm less afraid of being goofy or sentimental or boring or straight." Then when asked about all the pressure of the new DC cinematic universe riding on his shoulders and its success being so much of what WB is banking on for the movie business, Gunn had this to say, quote, "Really, I go, that's their business, because that's not the truth for me. My truth is this is the first movie out of DC Studios. Other people may say it's got to be a home run, nothing else. I'm like, no, I'd be very happy with a double. Fucking Iron Man wasn't the be-all and end-all. It wasn't Avatar. We were doing something that's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the puzzle itself. We have Peacemaker, we have Supergirl. What we want to do is make a movie that people love. They feel connected to the characters. It's just this one movie. It's not everything." Gunn continued on to say, "I hate it when there's a fucking article and it's going on about all the problems and blah, blah, blah. And that means even more pressure on James Gunn and Superman. I'm like, guys, I'm not responsible for all that. I'm responsible for my piece of the pie. I've got to make my budget back. I'll be very happy with that." Rolling Stone then brought up the topic of what the plan is for Batman in his upcoming cinematic universe, which naturally led into the topic of Matt Reeves' hotly anticipated and often delayed sequel, and Gunn had this to say, quote, "Batman has to have a reason for existing, right? So Batman can't just be, oh, we're making a Batman movie because Batman's the biggest character in all of Warner Brothers," which he is. But because there's a need for him in the DCU, and a need that he's not exactly the same as Matt's Batman, but yet he's not a campy Batman, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in a funny, campy Batman, really, so we're dealing with that. I think I have a way in, by the way. I just am dealing with a writer to make sure that we can make it a reality. So then what is the chance that Robert Pattinson's Batman would ever swing his way into Gunn's DCU? He had this to say, quote, "I would never say zero because you just never know, but it's not likely. It's not likely at all. I'll also say Batman Part 2 is not canceled." That's the other thing I hear all the time, that Batman Part 2 is canceled. It's not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. God, people are mean. Let him do his thing, man. Now, Superman is carrying a reported budget of $225 million, not including likely around $100 million in marketing and promotional costs. So to be profitable, the movie formula is to roughly double the budget for it. So in Superman's case, that would be about $650 million worldwide for it to be considered a double. And that really kind of aligns neatly with the baseball metaphor. And if we continued on with it, a home run may look something like $750 million, whereas a grand slam, we're talking probably $850 million or north of that. Superman will have press screenings on July 7th, which is also when the review embargo lifts and a sign of confidence from Gunn and WB. Early access screenings start on July 8th, which I've managed to snag tickets to see, so I'll share my thoughts with you all after. And finally, Supes will be soaring on to all screens worldwide on July 11th. Next up, we're going to talk about Jurassic World Rebirth. As the movie gets closer to opening its gates for the world to see, the hype machine is in full effect as Tuesday saw the film's world premiere in London, On the red carpet, ScarJo gave an interview that was published this week by Variety. About the hotly anticipated 8th movie in the series, Variety's interview gives us these bits of info. Quote, Rebirth took the franchise back to its roots, noting Kep's involvement and Edwards being an enormous fan of Steven Spielberg. So I think it really is a love letter to Steven's work, Scarlett Johansson had to say. Fans of the Jurassic universe can expect to really feel the DNA of the original Jurassic Park in this film. Edwards mentioned here is Gareth Edwards, who is the director of this latest Dino Chomp Fest. He also brought us most of Rogue One. Tony Gilroy famously reworked and redirected some of that movie, and later brought that vision to the amazing Disney Plus series Andor. Edwards was also responsible for 2014's Godzilla, and his debut movie 2010's Monster. Had this to say as well about the upcoming movie at the red carpet, first being that he, quote, claimed that he first heard about Jurassic World Rebirth while he was on the phone and via a message from his girlfriend. She sent me a text, which was a news article about Universal looking for a director for Jurassic, and as I carried on the call, I just copied and pasted it and sent it to my agent and wrote, is this stupid? He, Edwards here, said, we're going to find the answer tonight. He then quickly closed on a deal to direct after Universal's first choice, David Leitch, dropped out due to creative differences. Leitch, you may remember from the John Wick films, Deadpool 2, and the criminally underseen Atomic Blonde. Meanwhile, Kep, mentioned here, is David Kep, who teamed with Spielberg to adapt and write the first Jurassic Park, which was released way back in 1995, along with the excellent underrated sequel Jurassic Park: The Lost World in 1997. He's returned to pen the screenplay for Jurassic World Rebirth based on an original idea he had. So my thoughts on this are, we've heard it several times before, like the famous band promising that their newest album will return to its freshman debut sound. The latest entry in the long-running franchise will take us back to our childhood love of the original Jurassic Park, the best movie ever made, by the way. This has proven not to be the case in all of the past instances where, just instead we got yet another attempt by Chris Pratt at smoldering his way through another ambient-induced Indiana Jones impression, and some of the most terrible of contrivances to get people back within arm-biting distance of dinosaurs. These movies are part of the Monster in the House genre, which is a subset of movies where humans are trapped alongside some menacing monster. See also Jaws, The Thing, Alien. So it's long past time, really, that they stopped testing our suspension of disbelief that people would get within mauling distance of dinosaurs and instead maybe just try to bring the dinosaurs to where the people are. You could have them overrun the world everywhere, but perhaps due to our own cataclysmic Homo sapien short-sightedness, now people are left in a post-apocalyptic environment without modern technology to fend the dinos off. We carry the theme of nature clamping back on humanity. They could call it Jurassic Earth and then just print the money from there. However, Jurassic World Rebirth picks up 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, when the plant's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. Those remaining live mostly in isolated equatorial environments, among them 3 colossal dinosaurs whose DNA may hold the key to a life-saving drug. It is reportedly carrying a budget of $180 million, and I could really actually see this thing hitting the $1 billion mark worldwide. For as bad as its predecessors like Jurassic World Dominion are, people are still dino crazy and there's not many options for dino cinema, so it should still make a cool bill. Jurassic World Rebirth comes to us courtesy of Universal and releases July 2nd in time to do giganta business for the 4th of July holiday weekend. I'll be seeing it on July 2nd and we'll share my thoughts on the film after. Hopefully they can make good on their promises to return the series to its former glorious roots. Finally, this week in movie news, we're going to cover the long-awaited 26th installment of the James Bond franchise. This week, we got word from leaker Daniel RPK that the next James Bond film is set to shoot next year, 2026. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Amazon purchased MGM Studios, the long-running, iconic Hollywood studio that has long held on to the film rights for the Bond franchise. They're seemingly very eager to see a return on their $8.5 billion investment of the studio. That staggering amount also doesn't even include what they had to pay to legendary producer Barbara Broccoli, who had retained say over the character in the MGM acquisition. She then went on to finesse them for another $1 billion on top of it all to then retire and let Jeff Blofeld have his way with Mr. Bond. Barbara Broccoli had inherited creative control over the Bond franchise from her father, Cubby Broccoli. I swear I'm not making any of these names up. Having passed it down through his company, Eon Productions, and she helped lead the James Bond movies to achieve critical and commercial success to the tune of $7 billion total in the box office alone, which doesn't include other licensed media throughout the decades like video games, the once lucrative home video market or other merchandising. She had butted heads with Amazon's crack team of content chiefs like Jennifer Salk from an article by The Hollywood Reporter published earlier back in March of this year. They had this to say at the time, quote, "Sources close to the franchise say the streamer approached the Broccoli's with pitches for a TV show based on Moneypenny, the MI6 secretary who's been batting eyes at Bond since Sean Connery's days, as well as a show about Bond's CIA buddy Felix Leiter, maybe even something involving a female 007. Predictably, Broccoli and Wilson, her co-producing partner, weren't interested. Relations grew even frostier after a meeting in which Salk reportedly mortified Broccoli by calling Bond content. Yuck. Wilson, meanwhile, was said to be complaining about how he'd been unable to set up meetings with Amazon's top brass. In any case, it all came to a head in December, a month after Broccoli and Wilson picked up the Thalberg at the Governor's Awards. That's when the Wall Street Journal published a piece detailing the chilly state of affairs between Amazon and the Broccoli's, in which Barbara was quoted as telling friends that Amazon executives were fucking idiots. Not surprisingly, those choice words apparently did not go over well with Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. He read her quote in the Journal, got on the phone and said, "I don't care what it costs, get rid of her," is how one insider describes what happened next. So now after all that, Amazon's setting a date to start rolling cameras without even casting a new James Bond, much less a director, is another worrying sign for James Bond fans of the Big A's new fledgling ownership of MGM. Reports have been swirling that A-list directors, the likes of Denis Villeneuve, Christopher Nolan, and Alfonso Cuarón, were all interested in taking a crack at it, but none of those rumors amounted to any director signing on. Latest rumors have British director Steve McQueen linked to the project, who listeners may remember from his films like 2024's Blitz, 2018's Underappreciated Widows, and 12 Years a Slave. He has signed overall deals in the past to work with Amazon MGM, so there could be more to this rumor than some of the other big-name directors that have been floated about, who would also surely demand more creative control. As far as who can play James Bond, well, that has long been a heated topic among fans and Las Vegas oddmakers alike. For a long time, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who my autocorrect still tries to ram into my writing when I type in Anya Taylor-Joy, the star of the upcoming 28 Years Later, whatever the hell last year's Crave the Hunter was, and Bullet Train, was linked to the part. But that casting rumor of Taylor Johnson has died down in recent months, which we should all really be thankful for, because between his squeaky voice and the unironic Zoolander blue steel mugging, it's just not a great fit for the legendary 007. Henry Cavill, a mannequin made from a block of wood who got his wish to be turned into a real boy, but still retains all the woodenness in his performances, was also a heavy favorite for a while. You can go on YouTube and view his audition for Casino Royale, and you can get a better idea of the bullet dodge there. Latest rumors, however, point to my long favorite choice and breakout star of Rebel Ridge, Aaron Pierre, as the new top pick to play the top spy. Hopefully Amazon and MGM can get together a good script for a solid director and a great actor for their newly minted License to Kill, which we're hoping is just the bad guys that get killed, not the James Bond franchise. That's it for movie news for the week. Next up, we're going to get into early buzz, and to kick us off, fittingly, is Joseph Kosinski's F1. Kosinski is a red-hot director right now in Hollywood, coming off the massive blockbuster success of 2022's Top Gun Maverick, which did nearly $1.5 billion worldwide. He's also known for his previous collaboration with Tom Cruise in 2013's Oblivion, and if you can believe it, it's been 15 years already since his Tron Legacy was released. F1 centers around an older Formula One driver played by Brad Pitt, who comes out of retirement to mentor a younger, talented driver played by Damson Idris. Pitt's older, washed-up racer joins the struggling F1 team and attempts to mentor the younger driver Idris, who needs his guidance to reach his full potential. The review embargo lifted on Tuesday for his new high-octane racing flick starring Brad Pitt, and is sitting at a very positive 85% on Rotten Tomatoes as of this recording. Reviewers point to the pulse-pounding race sequences, stunning visuals, and gritty viscerality as highlights. Julian Roman of MovieWeb had this to say, quote, F1 succeeds in its primary goal of bringing the thrills of elite motorsport racing to the silver screen. Brad Pitt kicks asphalt in a pedal-to-the-metal summer blockbuster that'll get your adrenaline pumping despite a formulaic plot. Caitlin Booth of Bleeding Cool also gave the film high marks, stating, quote, F1 the movie is visually stunning and a technical achievement unlike anything we've seen in a long time, but the mileage you'll get from the story will vary depending on whether you think the usual tropes for a sports movie are a feature or a bug. Meanwhile, M.N. Miller of In Session Film was less blown away, saying, quote, F1 the movie begins an engrossing piece of gluttonous summer popcorn entertainment, but squanders its exhilarating premise by constantly mouth-vomiting exposition, offering a little suspense, and, like its main character, failing to know when to walk away. Personally, all I'm looking for from this is a loud and thrilling spectacle in IMAX, while Brad Pitt effortlessly delivers that classic movie star charm, so I'm glad to hear that it delivers. I predict it's going to be Damson Idris' breakout role too, which will be great to see him getting bigger and better roles after. Joining Brad Pitt and Damson Idris are Javier Bardem, Carrie Condon, and Tobias Menzies. This one goes wide on June 27th with a release partnership between WB handling theatrical distribution and later Apple snagging the streaming rights. It's carrying a whopping $300 million budget, but this should really do well, especially internationally, where it's undoubtedly going to take the checkered flag. Sorry for the pun. Next up is actually one releasing this weekend you can go see right now, Pixar's Elio. Reviews for this are also very positive on Rotten Tomatoes, scoring an 83% as of this recording. Reviewers point to its heart, whimsy, and family-friendly fun as a good time. Carla Hay of Culture Mix had this to say, quote, Elio is among many Pixar animated movies about protagonists who learn about themselves as they experience obstacles in unfamiliar environments. Elio's plot is sometimes messy, but it's a cute story about self-acceptance. Carlos Aguilar of IGN Movies also enjoyed it, saying, quote, dazzling as this animation is, what's most striking about Elio is how it depicts the slippery feeling of yearning for something we might not know even exists. Finally, Allison Wilmore of New York Magazine liked it less, saying, quote, for a movie about someone learning in both literal and emotional ways that he's not alone in the universe, Elio has a real trouble getting out of its own head. Finally, for the last movie in our early buzz segment is another one released this week, which we actually don't have the reviews for yet, 28 years later. In a highly unusual move by Sony Pictures, this hotly anticipated threequel to 28 Weeks Later and 28 Days Later is not going to see its review embargo lifted until 24 hours before you and I are able to see it. Now, we record this before the embargo lifts, so we don't have a sense yet of how good or bad 28 Years Later will actually be. This is not a good sign for the studio's confidence in the quality of their movie when they don't allow reviews to be published until this close to when the general audience could put down their hard-earned $25 to see it. They know by then most people have already bought their tickets and committed to seeing the movie, so it's kind of a bush league move to pull. If they're going to hold off on reviews being published for so long, they should offer reduced prices to moviegoers who still purchased their ticket without any sense of what they're buying yet. That's it for this segment on Early Buzz. We're going to close out next with new trailers. Kicking us off, we got a full trailer for The Naked Gun. Let's take a look.
Thanks.
All right. So we got Liam Neeson taking over for Leslie Nielsen. You got to wonder if they just chose him based on the names sounding alike. Jesus. Just rip the guy's arms off. Beat him with it.
Drebin. Detective Frank Drebin. Thanks.
That's a pretty good gag.
Police squad has always been the elite of the elite.
Hi, Daddy. It's me.
All right, yeah. So I was wondering,
Hey, Dad. What do I
this is a sequel, not really a reboot. Oh, that's just messed
You,
up.
Frank, are the best of the best.
Need a bathroom.
I need this room immediately.
There's a line, man.
Police business.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, he has his intensity from Taken, and then he just plays it straight in a comedy.
Another suit.
Some of the best stuff is when a character doesn't know they're in a comedy.
think someone murdered
Oh, you got Pam Anderson.
Please, take a chair.
Thank you.
All right, that's dumb. Made me laugh.
This is what I do. Says you served 20
Busta
years
Rhymes?
for man's laughter.
You mean manslaughter?
Must have been quite the joke.
They're
That's
going
pretty
to shut
good
down
wordplay.
Police Squad if you do not solve this case. Do this by the book.
Why? Who's going to arrest me?
CC
The cops?
Pounder.
Is she serious?
Is he serious?
Might remember her from The Shield.
It seems Mr. Drebin might be more of a problem. than we
Looks like
thought.
Danny
I
Houston.
want you to keep an eye on him.
Austin Powers style joke, which owed that to the original Naked Gun as well.
Rest assured, I won't stop until I've found justice.
Cinematography on this is fantastic. Directors
Your ass.
Kiva Schaffer also did Popstar, Never Stop Stopping. Underrated. Definitely check that out.
Nobody messes.
Oh, he's killer with the lollipop. This panty shot is unnecessary.
Upgraded a car with the most advanced crime-fighting tech.
Drive forward.
Jesus Christ. Is that a real person or is that CGI? Does that guy really look like that?
This place is falling apart.
All right, yeah, I'm sold on that. Looks pretty good. And finally, this week we got a new trailer for the upcoming reboot sequel. Not quite sure for I Know What You Did Last Summer, and yeah, let's take a look at that. Okay.
Thanks for coming. Can you believe our best friends are getting married? A marked envelope? Could it be
A lot of pastel.
cash? A check?
Isn't it I Know What You Did 30 summers ago at this point? Yeah, I guess this is a reboot.
Everyone chill out! We don't tell anybody what happened tonight.
We should go.
How do you not tell anybody when the railing was destroyed? There's a body.
Outside of us, no one knows what happened, right?
I don't know that this works in today's age. Like, there's security cameras, dash cams, perverts with telephoto lenses. All right.
Please stop. Someone is clearly
Got like a fisherman,
I need to start drinking.
crazy fisherman killer going after them.
And we'll find someone who will.
It isn't something I like talking about.
Oh, wait, he was in the first one.
We need your help.
So who's the guy then that's...
You can't run.
Oh, yeah, so this is a
You
sequel.
can't hide
So who's the killer this time then?
before they get you.
At what point did you just start carrying a gun? Like, there's a guy with a hook.
Whoever's doing this.
It's like rock, paper, scissors, gun beats hook.
One of
Yeah.
us
And then,
hiding something.
I don't know. You might just go to the cops at this point and say, yeah, we accidentally hit somebody and now this guy with a hook is coming for us. Yeah. Well, everybody knows what everybody did last summer because it's so all over social media. So I don't know. I don't know that this one works in today's day and age. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Weekly Reel. New episodes drop at the end of every week, so you get a quick hit of what's really going on in the real world before heading into your weekend. If you're on YouTube and you like what you saw, then hit that bell below. Or if you're just listening to the pod, then please follow the show. But either way, feel free to drop a review in the comments. We appreciate you listening and have a great weekend.